I said,
So
what are
we've
you?
gone live and we're recording now.
What are you doing? Hold on, I'm messing. Go back to Zoom.
I just see one more person coming in right now. Oh, there's another, so I'm going to give it a second.
Give the arrow. The arrow. Oh, what arrow? Here? Yeah.
This is the Congressional Cities Conference, Joan.
Oh, what did I do? I was trying to get rid of that other thing.
Fran, let me know when you're ready.
Hold on. There we go. There we go. Sorry. Dan had posted something under chat and I was trying to get rid of it. I don't know how to get rid of that. Leave it. All right.
Okay, ready?
I think we're ready. It is 10 on the nose.
Okay, I'm going to call to order the Olympic Region Clean Air Agency meeting for March 10th, 2021. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for being here. Beautiful day, as Robert said before the meeting. So let's go ahead and do a check-in around and see who's here. I'll just call through the board members and then I'll go to Fran for staff and any other guests. So let's start with, this is Jim Cooper, Chair. Cynthia. Oh, Cynthia froze. I'll go to Joan.
Joan froze too, I think.
Okay, Randy.
Randy's there.
Randy Netherland, Mason County. Randy Netherland, Mason County, and I apologize. I'll be here for the first part where I'm most needed for votes, and then I'll have to jump off. My apologies.
Carolina.
Carolina Mejia, Thurston County Commission.
Sorry, my list is jumping around on me. Bill.
Everybody, I think.
Yeah, this is Bill. I apologize for trying to be in 2 Zoom meetings and a conference call at the same time, but I'm focusing on you. Thank you.
Great. I seem to have lost people. I might have lost my quorum.
We're having some kind of server issue right now. I don't know what's happening, but I'm trying to get them back.
Okay, so I'm going to just take a pause. Okay, thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Aye. Okay, that's because the recording started, I'm going to restate. We had a motion from Randy Netherland and a second from Carolina Mejia, and the motion to approve the agenda passed unanimously. We have no chair's report. Cynthia, any finance chair report?
Mr. Chair, do we
No,
approve the
none.
minutes?
Okay. So next we have the consent agenda. I'm sorry, Randy.
Mr. Chair, did we approve the minutes, or is that part of the consent agenda? I don't have it in front of me.
That's the consent agenda, so the minutes and expenditures. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Mr. Chair, I move for approval of the consent agenda as presented.
I second it.
Okay, great. Any questions, comments, or polls? All in favor of the consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Great. So that's the actions that the board needs to take for the purposes of our business meeting. So let's, I'll just take a breather and see, do we get your staff back, Fran?
Let's see. Do we have everybody? Yeah. We got Dan. We got, yes, we do. We have everybody.
Okay. And so maybe just Joan. So far, is that Joan on the phone?
Joan, are you
Yes,
there?
it is.
Ah, welcome. Okay, everybody's back. Great. So Joan, we moved through and passed the agendas and the consent calendar as soon as we had a quorum, just because Randy needed to leave. So now we're going to go into the director's reports. Thank you, Randy.
Okay.
Good luck, Randy. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay, and I know, does everyone know it? Everyone, do we need to come back to introductions, or are we okay?
I'm okay.
I'm okay.
Okay, great.
I'm okay.
So then let's go to Robert with the compliance report.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's obviously been a rather exciting morning here already for us. If you go to tab B3, it's the compliance report. As you scroll through that, I think the phone traffic into the office is definitely picking up here, especially this week. We're increasing the number of permits for asbestos demo, land clearing burns are going out. And I think as far as just incidental news, I mentioned to you all in January about this maintenance plan thing. The details you don't need to worry about because it's over. And the stuff is, information was submitted to Ecology. It will be published in June. And verbally, I have approval or consent or whatever the word is from EPA that we have met our requirements and we are officially done. So that's a good news thing. Is there anything in the reports that is of interest to you folks? Scroll down through there. There's basically looks the same as last month. Got some new names.
Are we up again on asbestos and demolition?
I think it's slowly increasing. Yes.
Cool. Any other questions for Robert?
Just one comment. We have been doing inspections. You'll see the inspections are not huge number. Staff are doing them. But again, we have to be very careful because of COVID. Once people are vaccinated, again, we'll still be wearing masks, do social distancing, but I'm hoping that we can then increase and do more of our inspections because we need to stay up on that. So that's one area that we have, because of COVID, we may be lacking.
Thank you. Anything else on compliance? Okay, thank you, Robert. Mark, let's hear about engineering.
Good morning. Okay, if you could direct yourself, I don't know which tab it is, but it's the blue and white list of industrial/commercial air permits. And I'll just highlight the noteworthy ones. And as always, if you have questions about any particular case in your jurisdiction or anywhere in ORCAA's jurisdiction, give me a call or email me. But this list contains all the notice of construction permits for new equipment that generates air emissions. It needs to be approved through a notice of construction first. And this list also contains the status of air operating permit renewals. And air operating permit renewals, just to remind you, are for the very, very big facilities. We have 10 of those facilities within our jurisdiction, and those permits need to be renewed, those air operating permits, every 5 years. So here's the noteworthy ones. Right on the top of the list, Westport LLC. This is in Grace Harbor County. Westport LLC is a company that builds large yachts. And so they do it with composite construction techniques using fiberglass resin, wood, steel, but they build very, very big marine vessels. Their primary primary pollutant that they emit is styrene, and they're a major source. And our permit writer, Lauren, completed the air operating permit renewal for them, which is a big deal. She did a really good job. This is her first air operating permit that she's ever issued. She did a very good job. And so now Westport LLC is good for another 5 years until we have to renew that permit again. So they show up on the top of the list. There's 2 entries there. Another one I'd like to call to your attention is on the second page, and that is Crown Cork and Seal in Olympia. They're a very nondescript facility that manufactures cans, aluminum cans. They do all the varnishing and the printing of those cans that then go out in bulk to like L&E bottling over at the Montman Industrial Park, where they're filled. And Crown Cork and Seal is a major source of volatile organic compounds, and including air toxics. They've been around for a long time, And our engineer, Jennifer DeMay, is working on on approval of a notice of construction to modify this facility to add a third can line. So they're essentially revamping their facility to add this third can line. The third can line will increase capacity. As a result, emissions increase, and that's why they trigger a construction permit, a notice of construction permit. Okay, they are a major facility. They operate under an air operating permit, and eventually that permit will need to be renewed. But they're the gatekeeper here to them being able to construct this third line is the notice of construction. Let's see, on the same page, I'd also like to point out at the bottom of the page, Interfor U.S. Incorporated Port Angeles Division. Okay, this is in Clallam County. This is a mill, a lumber mill, and it's an existing lumber mill. They have been a minor source under their current regulation with ORCAA. They've been a minor source for years. They've been around. They're proposing to increase their lumber drying capacity. When you dry lumber, the drying of lumber emits volatile organic compounds and air toxics like formaldehyde, terpene, phenol, and for that reason, their modifications that will increase their capacity also increase emissions, and for that reason, they trigger this notice of construction. And our engineer Lauren is working on this case. It's noteworthy because this increase will put Interfor Port Angeles in the major source realm. So they're crossing from a minor source to a major source after they get this approval. And so that will add one more major air operating permit source to our list of 10. So we'll be back at 11 major sources once this notice of construction gets approved. And let's see, the last thing I'd like to mention is that Robert and I are working with EPA on fine-tuning specific conditions for monitoring in our air operating permits. And I thought that this was worthwhile mentioning because that's a kind of a big part of our job. As you know, EPA reviewed ORCAA's Title V program last fall. Okay, they call it a review. It was essentially an audit, and we have that final audit report, and I've reported to you previously on that final audit report. Well, the work that Robert and I are doing is in addressing some of the audit findings to improve our Title V air operating permit program and resolve some of the things that EPA found. They weren't major findings, but they still need to be resolved. And so it's generating workload. Robert and I have a meeting with EPA Region 10 this Friday to talk about some of those things. And so I thought it was worthwhile to mention to the board. So with that, I'll end. And again, if you have any questions, let me know.
I do.
Go ahead,
Cynthia. It's not a big question. I just wanted to know what on the third page, halfway down, it's PKMM Inc. And I just wondered what that was. What kind of a company?
Yeah, good question. And I'll have to get back to you. They're undergoing, let me find them here.
Mark, I can
yeah,
answer that one.
There you go. Robert's going to help out here.
Coincidentally, I've been talking about that one with the engineers and inspector this morning. So just by coincidence, I actually happen to know this one. So it's a metal fabrication shop, and they're installing they had installed a spray booth. And so they've now found out they need to get a permit, and that's what they're going through now.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Thanks.
Thank you, Mark. Okay, so that takes us to an air quality report from Odell.
Odell, are you muted?
Yeah, and when I shared my slide, I lost my unmute button, but Nick helped, so I'm unmuted now. I think, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Can you see my slide?
Yes.
Perfect. So this will be short and sweet. February was not the most exciting month for monitoring, but it was a good one. So we had mostly complete data collection at most of our sites, and all of the days in February came in at good. So you can see there were a few maximum days where we were bordering on moderate, but nothing too concerning. Port Townsend was our problem child. This month we had a pump die. Nick went up there to rebuild the pumps. We've been replacing and rebuilding all the pumps at all the sites. And when he went to start it again, the whole thing seized. So that required us to wait and get a new pump and get up there a few days later. So we lost about a week of data at Port Townsend. Chesapeake, we had some power outages and some communication failures, but otherwise pretty good. That's not uncommon in the winter. But other than that, pretty non-eventful as far as air quality goes. Other monitoring news. So quarterly QCs at Lacey, we've been having no trouble accessing all of our sites. The ETO, which is ethylene oxide pilot study I mentioned several months ago with ecology, had been delayed because of COVID, but we've got that back on schedule for June. We'll be sampling for a couple of days at the Lacey site, and then we'll be sampling for a couple of days at the Raymond site. And they're testing a new online real-time monitor for ethylene oxide. So that'll be interesting to see what they get with that. And then Oregon DEQ has asked if they can put a few of their canisters at the Lacey site too, so they can test their analytical method compared to the Picaro. So it's a multi-agency, multi-state pilot study. It will be kind of a fun thing to do. I mentioned that the Port Townsend site, we had a replacement pump there. We've also replaced the pumps at Port Angeles and Shelton recently. So that pump replacement project is going well. And then we are also installing communication fixes at all of our sites. We've lost data in the past because we've lost communication access. Well, there's something called an IP switch box that we can install at the sites that will restart the data loggers and restart the routers if they sense that there is no internet connection, which will save us from driving all the way out to Port Townsend to push a button, literally. So this is a really good thing, new technology that's going to help us save money in the long run and time. And the last thing is I've finished revising and responding to reviewers on the paper that we submitted for publication from the toxic study. So I will be resubmitting that at the end of the week, and hopefully I'll have good news on that getting published soon. And that is all I have.
Okay, questions for Odell? Okay, thank you, Odell. So now we'll go to Dan with education and outreach.
So pretty straightforward month. We've fully committed our wood stove replacement dollars. have committed those to pre-approvals. I am working with the folks at the State Department of Ecology to try to dig up some additional funding for the rest of this budget year. Since we still have 4 months to go, I'd rather not have that long of a lag between programs. The soonest the new program for the new biennium would start would be the start of the fiscal year. And that would be July 1. And that's hopeful we would do that. Most likely it would be late July, early August by the time we get all the paperwork done. So if I can talk the state into giving us some extra funding now, and it looks like they may be able to dig that out from some of the underperforming locals, either Puget Sound or Eastern Regional Office of Ecology. They're not spending the money they receive from the state, so we may be able to latch onto some of that for our own use. On outdoor burning, permits are starting to ramp up again in Thurston County. Compliance is doing a great job. Just as an anecdote, yesterday, Allie was one of Robert's team doing a great job. She was out on a complaint at the same time I got an email about the same fire. And I was actually at the same time updating our permit map and verifying permits, and found one that was invalid. That was the fire that Allie was responding to that I had also received a complaint about. So Allie actually was faster than the internet in getting out on complaints yesterday. So worth noting that she's very efficient. And then on other things, basically trying to keep up with engineering. They're pushing out a lot of permits, so we're getting those posted for public comment. Getting the AOPs posted as the engineers get those finalized. Got up the Westport updated on their website, so all of those records are publicly available and online now. And other than that, just a lot of back-end website work and keeping things updated and flowing. Website's getting a lot of hits with the COVID protocols, so we're keeping that going. And I have to say also, Nick, our IT guy, is doing a fantastic job keeping the entire office flowing and working efficiently. So kudos to him and everybody that's able to work remotely from far-flung regions of the region.
Dan, questions for Dan? Okay, so we'll move to finance. Lynn.
Good morning, everyone. It's great to see your close faces. Lovely morning. So I do have a few updates. One, our update on our current fiscal year 2021, our budget status 8 months into the year. We've collected roughly 78% of our budgeted revenue and expended about 64% of our budgeted expenditures versus 67%, or 8 months into the year. So that's a good status report where we are right now. And we are continuing to work on prepping our fiscal year 2022 budget. That leads me into the next item. The Finance Committee will be meeting next month on April 14th prior to our board meeting, and staff will be presenting a draft budget for fiscal year 2022, and we'll also review our current fiscal year 2021 in more detail, line by line, as we typically do. I may not be in attendance. However, that's a result of a recent summons to serve as a juror, my civic duty I look forward to if need be. So it does cover the period of time during our next board meeting, but you're in good hands. And follow up to Dan's wood smoke reduction comments, if we do get additional funding this fiscal year, we may have to come back in with a budget amendment. That's just a FYI. And separate from Mark Gooden's report on an audit, as you all know, I did share with you that we are undergoing our state audits with SAO. It's progressing. So far, so good. And depending on how they progress and move forward and their timeline, they may also be presenting a report at April meeting. Again, it depends on the workload that's been completed, what they have yet to do. Either way, they will definitely be presenting a exit and the results. But at this point, we're looking at a possibility they'll be on the agenda for April for an entrance, and they'll be discussing what their planning involves, what areas they're testing, etc. And I believe that is all I have to report. If there's any questions.
Questions for Lynn?
Thank you.
So Lynn, I have a quick one. So the pump replacements, are those budgeted, or is that going to come out of the equipment monitoring equipment reserve?
They are budgeted and they are coming out of monitoring reserve.
Okay. Great. That's great. Okay. Anything else for Lynn? Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Okay, so we'll go to Fran for the director's report.
Thank you. On some of the expenditures, we've been holding off just because of COVID, but our budget, knock on wood, is in good shape. So, and some of the things like what Odell is purchasing for the monitors, really, I mean, it'll be a time saver and, in the long run, and it just makes so much sense. Nick is also looking at updating our telephone system, our VoIP system. We had that budgeted for this year. Again, we were holding off, but we're looking at going forward with that too. So we're just being very careful to see how things go. But our budget, I'm almost afraid to say anything. We've gotten new permits in, so there's a lot of activity. The engineers are extremely busy. Compliance is busy, trying to do inspections, as I mentioned earlier, and also getting out on doing spot checks on asbestos and demo projects, responding to burn complaints. Smoke, we've had a number of complaints about wood stove smoke. So they're out there in the community trying to be as responsive as they possibly can. And Dan is right. Without Nick's help, we could never do this because everybody works remotely at some point during the week, and without his help and technology, it wouldn't be possible. We're working with EPA very closely. Again, EPA is taking a wonderful new direction. I'm very happy to see that some of the folks that were with EPA at high levels are coming back. McCarthy is coming back, and climate change is a significant issue. So again, right now they're sort of holding off on making some of the changes. They're trying to reverse some of the negative things that were done under the prior administration, but they're not moving forward really quickly on some of the other areas because we're sort of betwixt and between on some regulations. So before we move forward, EPA wants to, and the president wants to make sure that we're going in the right direction, doing the right things. But I'm very hopeful about the areas that we're moving. And we've also been working with the legislature. The legislature is different this year because it is remote, but we're working, I work with the other air directors, and we're staying up on where things are going with legislation. Yesterday was the cutoff day for House of Origin, so we're sort of halfway through the session at this point. And a number of issues did not even get a hearing. I mean, it's such a busy session with COVID and so many other issues going on. This is a very difficult session. I'm hoping that they finish on time. I have not seen a preliminary budget at this point. I do know in the governor's budget, as an example, he put in $4 million for the wood smoke program. Historically, it's been $2 million, so I don't know where that's going to be at this point. So I'm hopeful that that things will move through. On the federal side, we get state and federal core monies. There's a good chance that the EPA is going to get additional dollars, and some of those dollars will go into 103 and 105 funds, and we are recipients of those funds. So I'm hopeful that we may get some additional federal funds, which would also be great to help us out. Dan has been great. We are always looking at our website, and we're always looking at making sure that the material that's there is something that's understandable. So whenever we have issues of confusion, he's right there helping to update the information so that we can do two things: make it easy for the public to access and understand the issues, and also cut down some of the time that staff are having to explain things. So if we can be more thorough and complete in our information that is on our website, it actually helps staff because it is a time saver for them also. I think that is it. for my report. And if Lynn is out for the April meeting, I will obviously take over, and we'll be providing the preliminary budget to the finance committee and updating any of the financial issues. So Lynn and I work closely together. So I'm hoping she's here, but if not to worry, we'll be fine. We'll be doing okay. So, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
Questions for Fran? Okay, thank you, Fran.
Okay.
Thanks to all the staff team. It's been, a lot of jumping through hoops the last year, and actually a year almost to the day. And I'm just so proud of our ability to stay and maintain and actually do more, frankly. So thank you. So anything for the good of the order?
Back here, I'm hoping in June, maybe we'll have a meeting in person, although I don't know.
Sorry, Fran, I missed the beginning of that.
So I'm hoping that maybe by June, we might, and that's the month we'd be voting on our budget, that maybe everybody will be here. But the president says there'll be enough vaccines for everyone by the end of May. So we'll see, but I'm hopeful. We'll see.
Have we mapped out the space and whether we can still keep distancing even at that time, or do we need to find a bigger room?
No, I think we're going to be okay, but we just can't have many staff here. So staff would have to come in at the point that they're presenting, but I think we'd be okay for the board. We can space it out. And again, people will be masked, and if they've had their vaccine, that also helps for social distancing.
So I just asked, if you think June, then can we have a discussion about that in May and make sure we understand where the board members are on that? I think as I'm tracking this conversation on our city council, we're thinking about how do we keep remote opportunities for the public, and then also keep remote opportunities for council members who might not be comfortable going back in public, because we want to make sure we accommodate people's individual health concerns. So just to put those thoughts on the table, it would be good for the board to have a discussion before we just go back.
I absolutely agree. And the remote opportunities would obviously be there. I mean, Nick's done a fabulous job with Zoom, and Zoom's held up pretty well for us. So yeah, we can. And we can still do that for the public too.
I do think that, you and I can talk offline, but we might need more screens in the boardroom if we're going to have that much on the video, with board members or staff, and still be able to see presentations. But that's just a side note that's on my mind.
Okay.
Nick's buying screens right now. I can see him moving. Okay.
There's also continuing legal questions because of the suspension of the Open Public Meetings Act and the governor's orders concerning not having meetings. We'll stay on that and have that for you next time as well.
Good.
Jeff, is there modernization of the OPMA happening in the ledge or not?
There is, but it is limited to emergency situations by the bills that I've seen. And that has passed, I believe, one house and gone over to the other house. So it's still alive.
Okay. So that each jurisdiction under their own emergency power would be able to modify, is that?
I'd have to take a look at the bill a little closer to see whether that's the case, but it does not go so far as to simply give you an option to do this as part of your discretionary process.
Okay, got it. Yeah, if you can update us, that would be wonderful as that moves through.
Okay.
Cynthia, did you have something?
I was just going to inform Fran that the Congressional Cities Conference, that was one of the things with the EPA and also the climate coordinator, Gina McCarthy and stuff. We're really trying to work closely with cities and for a number of not just regulations, but moving forward. And I thought that was very positive.
Anything else for the good of the order? Well, I'm not sure, but this might be a record, an internet outage and a quick meeting. So I think we're done. So thank you, everyone. Have a great rest of your week. We are adjourned.
Thank you. Have a good weekend. Oh.
Bye-bye.
Jim, before you hang up,
Oh.
Okay,